All right, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna welcome in our guest, Jesse LaCasse. How we doing, Jesse?
Hey guys, Nick, Harrison, how you guys doing?
We're doing
Awesome.
great, man. It's been so cool to me and you we're teammates for 1 year. I was lucky enough, I was blessed enough to see you hit, man. And it was incredible to be able to come in as a freshman, have you as a role model, and watch you just hit skyscrapers out of St. Joseph's Park there.
I appreciate it. I hope I was a pretty good role model then.
Dude, you're incredible. So just give us a little bit of your backstory of baseball in general and how we kind of got to where you are now.
Yeah, so graduated St. Joe's 2003. From there, I took off to Germany. Went with Chris Holt. You guys are probably familiar with Chris Holt. He's now the bullpen coach for the Red Sox. He actually went to Austria. I went to Germany and spent 10 years there playing baseball. Traveled all over Europe, doing tournaments, like in Austria, big tournaments down in the Alps. I mean, it was just a really amazing experience to play ball over there. So
Yeah,
that was really the baseball start of it. Other than that, coaching throughout the years. And the bat making started, I think, around 2006 when I got back from Europe for a year and I just needed to hand turn a bat. So
yeah, that's really cool. So you founded the company 2006. So how long did this kind of overlap? So you were playing in Germany from, you said 10 years. So you would come home and then the off season you would start making bats?
I would. So it was 2004. I went over there first. And back then I was back and forth working other jobs. Really, the bat company took off in 2012 is when I got my first CNC lathe. That went on for about 3 or 4 years of just selling bats, finished bats, logo and everything. And then from there, I partnered up with a high school friend who I was buying wood off at the time, and we started Maine Billets. That was 2014. So I was actually I'd spend like 6 months in Europe, and then I would fly back usually in October, spend my winters here. I eventually bought, in 2016, I bought an Italian CNC lathe in Germany, and I was actually shipping pallets of dowels over to myself and then turning bats and traveling around, selling them at tournaments. I had a blast with it. I mean, it's a different style over there. It's a lot of fun playing over there.
That's really cool. So you actually started selling them in Europe when you were playing over there.
I did, yeah. It was tough for them to get bats. Even I was sending over batting gloves and really setting up tents, kind of like the old kiosk style at these, like tournaments in Europe. You got like live bands every night. Everyone's just having a great old time partying. It's just more of a real laid back atmosphere. It was a blast, really.
Here's a bat and a beer.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Yeah, pretty
else
spot
do you need?
on, actually.
All right, so if I can jump in real quick, Jesse. So for those of us that have never gotten to turn a bat, what is the really quick overview of that bat making process?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I've always processed right from the tree to the finished product. I started out literally hand splitting them, cutting my own trees. They would look like wedges coming out of this tree. I would knock the ends off on my lathe to get it down to almost like a dowel. That was in the beginning. And then from there, I was hand turning them, right? It could take me about 45 minutes to hand turn a bat, checking with calipers to the other bat. And then CNC is really the only way to mass produce. So then I got 2012, started producing them on CNC, writing my own programs, taking special requests from customers around the country, especially a lot in Europe as well. And then with the CNC, you're able to replicate the exact model every time for a player. And the biggest thing about the bat making that a lot of people don't think about is every single bat, different sized barrels, takes a different weighted billet. When I say billet, talking like a dowel that's 37 inches long by 2.75. So they're going to weigh anywhere from 70 ounces to 110 ounces. So you really have this specific range that you're using to make certain model bats.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how the weight differs from each model bat that you make. That's crazy.
Yeah, so those bigger barrel bats that you see guys swinging, it's going to be a little bit less dense wood, a lighter tree that basically had more sunlight, was a fast growing tree, are going to be produce lighter wood, less dense wood. And then once you get into those like 2.5 diameter barrels, you're looking at a little bit more heavier piece of wood. It's going to give you a little bit denser piece of wood. And MLB standards, you have to use, like in maple, you have to use a billet that weighs 86 ounces or more. And that's to protect from the breakage that since they introduced maple bats, you guys have seen those barrels flying all over the place, into the stands, back at pitchers. And that's just a safety precaution.
That's
So
crazy.
Wow.
And then birch, you guys have heard, yellow birch is pretty new on the scene. It's been around a while, but birch, you can actually get lighter billets and really produce a larger barrel bat. And most of these torpedoes are being produced from birch, just because you can actually use a lighter piece of wood. You got this fattest 2.61 barrel. This thing's a beast, and it stretches down closer to the logo. So those hits in the past where you might take one a little bit inside, a little too far inside, still feels solid. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So kind of walk us through that journey. So from what I read, the Yankees reached out to you in 2023 and was like, hey, can you make this prototype for us? Is that how it went down? Or like, how did they find you?
People ask me that a lot. So I think one of the big reasons they reached out to us, we're not like an official bat company. We supply bat companies.
Gotcha.
And I don't think the Yankees really wanted to give this job to a specific bat company for the publicity that they would get. So knowing that they knew of us through some other bat companies that we supply, because we supply a lot of pro bat companies. So I think they knew of us through that. And how it worked was they reached out. I think it was around April or May of 2023. They had some ideas, they had some drawings, and they were looking for us to turn those ideas, drawings into bats. And the initial one was 8. They sent over 8 drawings files, and they ordered 2 of each one. And we really just put a serial number on each barrel. It was how they identified them. They came back after about a month of testing with the players. They came back with 8 modified programs from those original ones. And you could tell on each one, it was really neat. I happen to have a couple torpedoes, but they were taking this sweet spot and they were moving it down towards the logo. And depending on the player, they were moving it away from the logo. Depends on where the player's contact. The cool thing about the torpedo is, Nick, say your tendency is to, your sweet spot is a little lower. We can actually put that sweet spot right where your tendency to hit the ball is. And that's the thing that a lot of people are not really realizing. They're really barrels that are customized to players. And so by the time they sent their 3rd batch of programs or drawings, we were seeing barrels move like an inch or so each way just to create these different sweet spots for specific players. At the time, we created these. We weren't giving our opinion on them. We were the company that was producing these bats for them, which they were testing them. They were loving them, and they were all out of birch. Every single one of them was yellow birch, which really in MLB, I'd say we're talking probably 80% of the bats are maple now. So it was interesting to see that the yellow birch was it was showing up because of the weights they needed, which is interesting. Yeah.
All right. So we do have a couple questions in the chat. So said he worked at a hardwood mill for 13 years and was just wondering if they use cottonwood to make any bats.
Cottonwood. Cottonwood is isn't that a soft hardwood? I mean, we don't even have cottonwood in Maine, do we?
I would probably doubt
we wouldn't. Yeah, we wouldn't up here. No.
No, I didn't think so. I thought cottonwood was considered a hardwood, but a soft hardwood. But I really, don't quote me on that because I'm not that familiar with the wood. I do believe it holds a lot of moisture.
Oh, gotcha.
But I couldn't give my professional opinion on that one for sure.
Yep. And then we got, what's the difference between torpedo bats and the Louisville Sluggers?
So Louisville is making torpedo bats. They're one of the makers that really the Yankees, a lot of the players are using them from. And a lot of people ask, people are like, how are these legal? And for me, I'm like, these aren't even that much different, really. If I put my hand over this part of the bat, it really looks about the same. And all we're taking is this wood that's right here and this weight, and we're putting that into the sweet spot of the bat, which you're literally just taking more mass and you're putting it into the ball. The other big advantage that I felt and that the players are talking about is you're bringing the weight closer to your hands, which is really giving you more control of the bat in general. It's helping guys get the barrel through the zone quicker. And even if they're a little late, they're actually still getting some good contact on that, on the ball instead of really vibrating their hands. I think all in all, when we talk about a Louisville Slugger, we're just talking about a piece of wood, right? That's labeled Louisville Slugger. And I think for a lot of people out there that may not know it, like a lot of bat companies don't produce bats. They buy them from companies like us, and then it's like a relabeling program, like in a sense, which it was new to me about 8 years ago when we started doing it. Very neat situation, I think.
Yeah, so you're kind of like the wholesale and they're like the resale kind of aspect of it. Is that how it?
Yeah, so they'll get a bat from us that looks like this. It's just turned, sanded, typically has the cup in the end of it. And from there, they'll paint it, logo it, make it look pretty. I mean, we have customers all over the country. They are absolute artists with what they do with a piece of wood, you know. We try to think our specialty is more, you know, creating good wood and, you know, making good bats. These guys turn these things into just beautiful masterpieces. It's really amazing to see. And I still make bats and finish them as well through LaCasse Bats, which is why really my original company. And then I kind of branched off into the Maine Billets just because we're in Maine, and Maine is known for our hardwoods.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Dude, it's so cool.
So it sounds like, Jesse, to kind of summarize all that, the torpedo bat is basically, you can take somebody, you can look at how somebody hits and see the pattern of contact they make, and all the torpedo bat's doing is sliding that sweet spot to the part of the bat they typically hit. It's not a bigger barrel. You're not breaking any rules, which everybody seems to think you are. You're just transferring that sweet spot into the area they're most likely to make contact.
You're 100% correct. We are actually able to gain a bigger barrel, but the max barrel you can have is a 2.61. So typically these bats are still about the same weight, but instead of the average barrel on a regular bat, we've been calling them like legacy bats now. On a regular bat, the average barrel size is like 2.5 inches. Whereas these torpedoes, we can get up to that like 2.61, but the weight, because it is closer to your hands, it actually feels lighter. It doesn't have that top heavy, end heavy feel to them that heavy wood bats do. Very 100% in the legal limits of MLB. Really, you just can't have bigger than a 42-inch long bat. The bats can be any weight, and you can't have bigger than a 2.61 diameter and you can't have any sharp or rigid edges anywhere on the bat. So,
wow. So you can. So there's no weight requirement at all, as long as it fits the length requirements in barrels. Or
there's minimums. You can't go lighter than a -3. So your 34 can't weigh less than 31 ounce. Right. But you can go heavier. But I mean, you get to the point. I mean, we're not Babe Ruth anymore. You know, the guys, the pitchers are throwing 100 or whatever now. It's no one. I mean, some guys are definitely. There's a lot of pro guys that are swinging those, even weights, so like a 34, or maybe even a +1. And there's other guys that are swinging -2s, -3s. But yeah, you can't, if you're getting lighter than a -3, there's the density of the wood starts to become an issue. And those are more likely to break. Yeah, which definitely is a big factor. It's a big factor since they introduced maple. Maple is such a hard wood. And maple does hit the ball further. There's no doubt, but it's such a hard wood that it can't handle the flex. Like they estimate it's like 10,000 pounds of pressure when the ball hits the bat. And whereas like a birch or an ash might be able to handle that flex, maple either handles it or it literally explodes into 2 pieces and 1 piece goes flying.
So. Yeah, I mean, you see like the slow-mos like during, home run derbies and all that, and you see the bat just like wiggle as they make contact through the zone. Yeah. It's crazy to see how much flex that wood actually does. And then you pick up the bat and you're like, how does this thing flex that much?
You're 100% right. It's crazy. It looks like a banana shape when they show the slow-mo, and I mean, people are still surprised when a bat breaks, and I'm like, have you seen a slow-mo? I mean, it looks like, how did that thing not break is more usually my question. And that's why most bats are actually broke. Most bats are broke off when players hit it off the end, which is why I actually think the Torpedo is going to reduce the amount of breakage in MLB. There's less wood there. There's going to be less direct hits. And I just think in general, so when you hit the ball off the end, as you guys probably know, the tendency is for it to snap right on the handle. Whereas when you get jammed right there in the middle, the tendency is for it to break right on the other side of where you got jammed. I typically break mine off the end, like being early on a changeup or something. And I'm 45 now, so I golf more than I play baseball. You guys, maybe you can relate, you know?
Yeah.
No, I got you on that.
Yeah.
So you've swung with a Torpedo Bat.
Yeah, so I've been hitting with them I've been hitting with them just for 2 weeks as of tomorrow. The day after the Yankees, the morning after the Yankees hit all those home runs, immediately that night I call my partner. I'm like, Brian, they're using our bats. Like, he's like, I know, I saw it, man. We were so excited. We couldn't believe it. So that next morning I sent out, a Facebook post. I immediately put them on our website, and it's just, it's really been pretty exciting since then. I mean, we've designed a couple different ones for players that would like to have that sweet spot a little lower, that we have on our website on Maine Billets. That you can get it blank, you can get it with paint on it, you can get it with engraving, or if you go to LaCasse Bats, you can get it fully customized with the logo and everything. So yeah, for the last 2 weeks, it's we've been pumping out somewhere around 70 to 80 bats a day. Which is my son, actually. It's kind of cool. This dates us a little bit, but my son is 18 and he's actually turning all our bats now. So super cool. He runs, awesome. We run 3 CNC lathes at our shop in Anson, which really you actually need. You got a lot of different options.
Yeah.
So
that's so really cool.
One of the articles I saw, Jesse, had mentioned that there were some high school kids that have been using them, I think, in your batting cages and are considering taking them out onto the field. And one of the comments was
the high school kids they're loving them. And I coach some of the local kids, but it's not just the local kids that are using them. It's really schools all around. I mean, you guys are familiar with the BB cores that high school and college swings. So the BB core is designed to perform like wood. With these new Torpedo Bats, they're the players, they're just, the high school guys are like, these just feel lighter, is the comments I've got from all the high school guys. It's just that feel that you're getting. They feel like the barrel just kind of wants to whip through the zone a little bit quicker. I actually think in general that more high school players and college players are going to start to use these. It's good for them in the long run. I think they're going to get a better feel for it, for the hitting wise. And yeah, they are. I definitely think they'll start using them. I mean, we're up in northern Maine here, so we're barely just getting outside right now. Everything's really been hit in the cage so far for these guys.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Man. So, I mean, like, I just lost my train of thought.
No worries.
Oh, so with like high school, like that's the big issue though, is like metal bats is more cost effective for them, right? So like finding a bat that's more durable, like a Torpedo Bat, where these kids hopefully aren't breaking them as much. Like, I think that's why high schools really hadn't gone to wood for so long.
Yeah.
Because, you buy 2 metal bats, that's going to last me 2 seasons, where I buy this team 5 wooden bats and they could be broke the first game. So finding a bat like a Torpedo that hopefully is more durable, and it just makes more sense. Like learning to hit with wood at that level, like if you ever want to move up, like that's the way to do it. Start hitting wood now, get good with it, because that's what you're using for the rest of your career. So
you're spot on right there. And you're spot on about the cost. I mean, it's expensive. I mean, one player could break 5 bats. One player might not break any. Really, there's a lot of different players out there, especially in high school. They're developing as hitters. They do have a tendency to be late or early on pitches more often, and they're only playing 10 or 11 games, right? At least up here in Maine. And if these bats there's still a lot of testing going on. If these do find to be more durable, I definitely think you're going to see more college and more high school kids trying them. I mean, from what I see, I mean, most of the kids, they just like the idea of swinging wood. They like the sound of it. They like the feel of it. It's, in the end, you still just got to hit the ball, as you guys know. Like, and some people have asked, oh, you think they'll come out with metal torpedo? I mean, they may, but the difference is you're not really, what weight are you moving around on a metal bat? I think it's an advantage to have meat on the end when it's not affecting the weight of the bat. So I don't think it's going to be a big thing with making metal torpedo bats, other than it might look cool or sound cool, but really I think the wood ones are the ones that are really able to move the weight around and really help players get that barrel. I think it helps players drive. I mean, you guys are familiar with, you've heard of those puck knobs, or like there's those bats out there with a big weight kind of in the middle. I think torpedo is kind of helping in that sense. It promotes your hands driving through the zone. Whereas when you put that weight on the end of the barrel, it kind of almost wants to like pull your hands away from your body a little bit. Whereas this is helping you drive your hands forward. So I think it's like, you can hit with them, but I think they're also going to help hitters in general.
It's really cool.
So the first weekend, Jesse, we saw the Yankees hit a barrage of home runs and score a bunch of runs against the Brewers. And Pat Murphy even came out and said, look, it's not the wand, it's the magician. But what is your opinion of the bat? Is this a significant advantage to the hitters? Is this gonna take guys from being marginal players to really good players, or is this just gonna help those guys that are maybe on the edge stick around?
I mean, I think time will tell, but I've had a couple theories. I mean, I do think in general, I think most wood bats are going to start to taper down towards the end of the barrel. I think people are just going to realize that there's no need to have that weight out there, and it gives it's going to give pro players a little bit quicker bat through the zone. I think it's going to give them a little bit better feel and control of the bat. So, the other idea is I do think that pitchers are starting to come into their own. They're not really fully ready when the season starts, whereas hitters are just going up and looking to swing away. I think pitchers tend to groove a little bit, few more fastballs early on. So I think as the season goes on, I think we're going to learn more from, I mean, I don't doubt we're going to have some stats out there that are going to show with players that are using torpedo, at least comparing from their past stats. It's tough to say exactly, but I think with time will tell. And I posted something and someone said, well, looks like you can't swing at the outside pitch anymore. And obviously I was thinking, well, if we hit the outside pitch, obviously we're not trying to hit it off the end of the bat. So I think there is a lot of misconceptions out there about the torpedo. I think people are a little unsure of really the contact point for players, especially pros, is about 5 inches in from the barrel. And pros, you're talking, their sweet spot is like 2 inches big. I mean, if you look at their bats, they're not really hitting the ball much away from that like sweet spot. So, I think time will tell what it's going to do for the line. And I've always said hitters need some type of advantage. Like pitchers have been throwing, they've increased their miles per hour by like 10 miles per hour from when we were young and in high school. And hitters haven't really got any advantage, other than, we got statistics and we got launch angle talk, which I love, I love launch angle. That's why I love hit tracks. I have hit tracks in my cage over here. And it's amazing what launch angle and exit velo, putting those two together and playing around with that will do for a hitter.
Yeah.
We'll see really cool. In time.
Yeah. Well, this was incredible. So listen, we're going to put all your stuff out on our page. Please order bats at mainebillets.com. You can also do it at LaCasseBats.com.
Yeah.
I am most definitely I'm going to try to order a torpedo bat with our rounding third.
Yeah, so we need to get some rounding third torpedo bat.
I got you guys covered. Don't you worry.
All right.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
I'll do up the barrel nice for you. We'll get you a torpedo bat. It looked good on the wall right behind you. Both of you there,
Yeah, I just got like regular Louisville Sluggers and some Omahas back here. I want to.
There we go.
Drop a torpedo bat in there.
I
love them all. Yeah, I'd love to have a LaCasse bats mixed in with those.
Absolutely, man.
That'd be super cool.
this was an absolute blast. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us. We'll be in touch for sure. But this
Thank
was
you. Thank you so
absolutely
much for having
incredible.
me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, continue the great success, buddy. It was great catching up with you. Good seeing you. I'm glad you're doing well.
You too, Nick.
Yeah, and take care, bud. Thanks so
Awesome.
much.
You guys have a great night.
Thanks so much, Jesse. See
All
ya.
right, you
All
too.
right. See you later.